at this. Um, yeah, but there's so much bullshit out there when it comes to the NFT space, and like actually figuring out where to start is probably the hardest thing. Um, where have you started? That could probably be a good place to kind of discuss first. Like
That's even
what did you like? Obviously, we got the information from last week, but what application like helped you move something forward? Did, if anything, move forward at all for you?
well, I wanted to get some of the books, but then it was just like the books that you had sent me, the list of books. But okay, so I'm not a good reader. I get
Okay.
bored really quickly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I have a hard time focusing. I mean, it takes me like 15 minutes to read a page only because I have to reread it and reread it for my brain to absorb it before I go off on a tangent. Oh, look at that little shiny, bright, shiny object.
yeah.
So that's a challenge for me. And I've had another friend, not a friend, but more like an acquaintance tell me, hey, you need to get on Discord, just like you said last time. You said, it's all about creating relationships. It's building relationships, getting in on the right projects. But how do you even know who to even contact or reach out to on Discord? Because even Discord can be so shady. The characters
For
on there
sure.
can be so
For
shady.
sure. For sure. And there's like an element of trust that you have to trust yourself to be able to filter like good shit from bad shit. Like, right, you
Yeah.
have to have like a good like firm. I think it, because you do have a background in crypto and you've been
Mhm.
in this space, um, and you've made good decisions on coins and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
think that you can comfortably sit down and say like, no, like that doesn't make sense, or yes, that makes sense. Let's explore this more. So I think your filter is probably better than what you're probably giving yourself credit for. But
Mhm.
um, it's about not necessarily trusting everybody that's in there, because I don't necessarily think it's advantageous to join a group that is just 10,000 people just spamming and not
Right.
really talking about anything, right? Like, there are profile picture projects where individuals will just go in there and yes, they'll chat, yes, they'll do this, that, and the third, but at the end of the day, like, they are all there for the art, the collection, or whatever the reason they're there for. There are real groups out there, like the one that I found myself in the very beginning
Mhm.
was I was early on this project called Galactic Apes, and there was a like a first edition drop. It's like called the Genesis collection, right? The
Mhm.
Genesis collection was about 100 was 151 NFTs, and the
Mhm.
next two drops were 10K that had come out of it.
Mhm.
So owning those Genesis NFTs became valuable, not just because like they were so rare from a supply demand aspect, but
Mhm.
also because I got to curate a conversation with a small group of individuals that were
Yeah.
early to things, right? And I got to find a really strong, tight knit community of smart people. Um, Now there are other groups out there that are kind of like this quote unquote token gated or NFT gated community where individuals go and discuss like alpha or things that they're seeing in the NFT space, the crypto space, and everything like that. The one that I find myself in right now is called the Mint Calendar.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm a whale in that project, so I own like close to 40 NFTs of this project.
Okay.
Um, and essentially I just hang out in there because I'm in a small group of guys or a small group of people in general, guys, girls, I don't really know because they're all anonymous.
Mhm.
Um, and all we do is share ideas, we share investments, and like we make plays together, and we keep that group, that conversation. We don't accept like negativity, and it's like this really tight knit group of people that just want to see each other win at the end of the day. Um, that's
Is
that
that
is a fantastic place to start, if you ask me. If you can find a community that you really resonate with, I personally resonate a lot with the Mint calendar,
uh-huh.
um, because of what they do and in their analysis and who was backing them and who had kind of like promoted their stuff, and kind of led me down this rabbit hole of finding them
Mhm.
and being active there. Um,
That still open to the public, or is that a private
yeah,
closed?
so there is a public chat,
Uh-huh.
but the real access will probably, if you own one NFT, which is like 0.03 ETH, it's like not a super expensive NFT by any means.
Right.
Um, you get access to, the actual Discord where whales will chat, people that own, because like the whole concept of the Mint Pass is here. I could actually show you.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. The whole concept of this thing is to, you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Let me stop sharing for a second.
Okay.
Sign in. Okay, share screen. Okay. So the Mint calendar, these are my NFTs, right? These are all the NFTs I own.
Okay.
The Mint Pass is what you buy. They're like raffle tickets, right? So they're shaped like raffle tickets. You buy these for a better chance to win raffled positions, for whitelist spots in projects. So the Mint calendar, this is the Discord. If you were to join and didn't have a pass, you'd only have access to this first general chat, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe even here or something. It's like not really a lot of
Yeah.
access that you
Very
get.
basic.
Exactly. Um, but the general chat, we talk about other NFTs, and like you can see that this person owns 2 passes, this person
Okay.
owns more than 11, and there's a Bored Ape, there's some prominent individuals that
Hmm.
have really big skin in the game.
Okay.
I spend a lot of my time here in the whale chat, and
Mhm.
they talk about really, really, really interesting things. But like I said, you have to have 11 or more to get access to this. So
Okay.
yeah,
Good to know.
yeah, there are groups out there like that, right? And that's always like reading free newsletters and doing things for free, until you kind of get your own, like you find your own pocket to kind of start playing in. I personally like to kind of stay in that pocket.
Okay. What do you think?
I Sorry.
Okay. So this person recommended Boss Beauty's group, Discord. It seems a little busy, and I know Boss Beauties are super expensive NFTs as well.
Mhm.
So I'm not so sure that's a good place for me to start.
Let's see. Yeah, this is first time I've seen Boss Beauties, but yeah, that is pretty steep. Um, I mean, even joining these discords without necessarily buying their NFT is still something that you can do. I think for the most part, there will be
Yeah,
there will be access that's kind of limited, but you don't
right,
want to spend all this money to get access into a group that you don't necessarily like
right.
ride with, that
Well,
just
Boss
takes on
Beauty's,
too much risk.
yeah, Boss Beauty's group is actually free, and I'm sure they have private, servers inside the Discord for people who own the NFTs and whales like yourself. But I remember when they first did their drop, and I think I had just been notified. I don't even remember how I found out, but it was still pretty steep. The prices were pretty steep when they first dropped. So I was like, nah.
Yeah.
But apparently that was a good price.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how it goes. And you can look at some data like I try to make as many data-driven decisions as possible.
Mhm.
Because ultimately like data won't lie, right? Like people will, and people will shill you and tell you to invest into this is going to be the next Bored Ape or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be, but that's not necessarily the truth all the time.
Right.
The truth is in the numbers, if you ask me. And
So when you talk about data, it sounds so high level, and I have no idea what data you might be looking at.
yeah, so that's actually a good point. Let me, if I could reshare this screen with you again
Okay.
and show you what I look at. So I look at a number of things. There's a new resource that I've been using. It's actually been like, it's actually made me a pretty nice penny, especially today. Whenever I go into an NFT project, right, especially when it's new, some tips and tricks, right? You can click the floor price, like that area right there.
Mhm.
And then you
Yeah.
can see how many are listed, right? When you're looking at the health of a NFT project, the lower this
Yeah.
number is, the better, to
The
be
better.
honest.
Yep.
Because what that
They're
means
more
is
rare.
that, yeah, well, it's not even that. It's that means that there's a community of people backing this
Ah.
that really believe in the project and what's going on enough to like hold on long term. You don't want to be in a project where this number is like 8,000 of the 10,000 items that are on like in people's hands are being sold. Like that's just a project, that's just a situation where
Mhm.
everybody's trying to get out and everyone is trying to sell. So this shows
Okay,
me,
so
yeah,
back up just a bit. So the 709 items, those are what's available for sale, right?
right now, yes.
Right now. Okay. But what's the total that was
Total
created?
10,000.
Oh, I
There's,
see.
there's 10,000, there's 10,000 items that are created,
Uh-huh.
5,600 that own them. So that means that for every one member in this chat,
Right.
there's
They own
roughly,
two.
they own roughly about two. Um,
Right. Okay.
this ratio is also important to kind of pay attention to. It's not necessarily the most important because there's some fluctuations that can kind of hinder it. If the ratio is too even, like if everybody has two in the beginning, that means a
Uh-huh.
lot of people are going to probably dump them and try to
No.
sell them for a quick profit. But if
Right.
you, let's say like Bored Ape, right? When Bored Ape was created, it still had 10,000 items, but they first only minted to like 2,000 people, 2,500. And now it's
Okay.
slowly, but surely started getting into more people's hands. And those original 2,500 people still had some to hold. So you have
I see.
this community of people that are not selling, and then you also have
Mhm.
a community of people that are, or a demand that's actively growing the unique ownership. Um,
Okay.
that's more of like a nitty gritty thing that I kind of pay attention to, especially in the beginning. But
Mhm.
really, it's this number because what it means, in my perspective, is that if there's sudden demand for this project immediately, right? This lack of supply on the market is going to boost this price up very quickly.
Right.
I can show you one that's really interesting that I've been kind of keeping my eyes on. Um, Cool Pets. This is
Uh-huh.
a like the secondary drop of a very large collection called Cool Cats. And Cool Cats is like has a floor price of like 9 ETH right now, which
Wow.
is really great. So this floor price 1.5, this number's been floating around 200 to 300 for the last like 3 months without a real working product, right? They are building a game essentially where you can raise pets and do all this, that, and nature. So when you have 18,000 NFTs, 18,700, and only 300 of them are listed on the market,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that means less than 1% of the total supply is on the market. So if the demand immediately for these eggs, once the game starts rolling out and people start liking the pets, like it's still a gamble, right? Because I'm betting on people actually liking the game and liking everything about it. But the numbers, the supply shock that could happen because of this number is so low compared to how many total items there are, I'm now able to make an educated decision and be like, okay, like this is important, right? There could be a supply shock here. Now this is something that I've been using as of recently. It's called flips.finance. And this is also something like it just kind of proved to me when I found this resource that the things that I was looking at are what other people are looking at to make decisions on NFT projects, right? The amount of people that are delisting and not listing their NFTs, an important number, right? See, 6% is currently listed, 10%, 11%, all these low percentages. You can check the daily floor price change and the daily volume and all these other interesting things. I have my own little dashboard and watch list that I kind of keep an eye on all these projects. It's kind of, I don't like meticulously watch them every day, but you know, if I wanted to click on Tubby Cats, for instance, a project that I'm invested into, I can see what the floor price has done in the last month or since inception, and then see how many holders. Like typically when you have holders, when you have holders go down like this is good, right? That means that more people are buying and less people that have these weak hands, like that they're losing their supply. And then the number listed is also another good thing to be looking at. Like you want to see this chart go down, you want to see this chart go down as well to some point, right? You want to see this go down and then go back up, and then you want to see this continue to go down. And then obviously.
So is there a charge for that?
No, this is free. This is free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
This is what I pull up. There's a project I've been watching the last couple of days. It's called Kiwami. And all I was doing, I just had this Kiwami chart once it loads, if it loads. Come on. Okay. So all I was watching, right, was I can look at this last 7 days. This is the floor price and how many sales are happening at what prices, right? You can see the ETH prices, and then the dots represent individual buys and sells. So I was just watching, I would sit there, turn on the hour, and then be like, oh, okay, like this is what's kind of going on. This is floating here, last 12 hours. And then make a decision based on this. Like, see how much activity is going on here? Like, there's so much shit being bought.
It's all over.
So much, exactly. And then you can see like this spike, and then it spiked all the way to 1.6, and then there's some being sold at 1.6 still that are probably rares, but you want to definitely hide outliers and stuff like that. So keep kind of, because these are the outliers, those rare ones that are being
anomalies.
You can check the unique buyers. Unique buyers is like new people owning an NFT. And then you can see the biggest buyers in the last 12 hours, right? This wallet has bought 32 and spent 23 ETH. This wallet has spent 28 and 25 ETH, and like all these numbers, which is all good to see in the project, you know, like the more people,
data.
Exactly. The more people that are spending money on this project, the less likely they're going to be like wanting to just
bankrupt.
Yeah, they're not going to want to lose money, right? Like they're not just blindly throwing.
That's what we call it, rug pull, right?
Yeah, exactly. So these are some of the factors that I look at when it comes to
Mhm.
like making a data-driven decision. Um,
Okay.
and just kind of getting like fielding my own um or continuously to trust my own judgment. Because sometimes
Mhm.
you'll see data that's like iffy and you won't really see a like real traction, because sometimes traction comes not at the point when it's lowest, but obviously when it starts getting a little bit of buzz. You want to be in the place where it starts getting a little bit of buzz, right? Where
Mhm.
it gets a little bit more um like off of its lows. And I'm sure you know this, right? Like off of its lows, but not at the
Yep.
low, because you don't want to necessarily be too low,
Right.
because then you're going to be super sensitive to any price movements. And
Yeah. So I kind of equate that to like trading or stock charts. You don't
yeah,
want to buy at the very low levels. You want to see it rebound a little bit before you get in,
yeah,
right?
you want to see the confirmation that this could be something that people are
Exactly.
actually raving about. Um,
Exactly.
and that's the thing about NFTs. I think that NFTs is not, I reiterate it from last week. I don't think that NFTs are something that you can just buy and hold for the next 20, 30 years and be like, okay,
Right.
this is going to be it, right?
Right.
Unless you're going to
Right.
be spending 100 ETH on a Bored Ape, or 16, 17 ETH on an Azuki, or some of these larger projects out there. Unless
Right.
you're willing to own those and put forth the capital to own those, then
Mhm.
you can probably be a little bit more like longer, like, okay, I'm just gonna sit and wait. But you got to
Right.
be
I
able to
agree.
yeah, you got to kind of be able to move a little quickly with things, and kind of make these decisions on a whim, if they need to be made on a whim.
So let me ask you this. When you buy an NFT, do you hold it in your wallet for a little bit and see what the market does before you put it back on the market for sale? Or do you pretty much turn around and list on the market at a reserve price?
It kind of depends. It's a great question, actually, because this trade that I was in for 4 days. Um,
Oh,
and it was so clearly not very long, but a lot happened in those days. And my initial purchase was, a pretty decent amount of capital up front to be able to make it. And
mhm,
I really only needed, um, I only really needed, I can always like, from the point that I bought it, because of the data driven approach that I kind of showed you there, I was able
mhm,
to I was able to see that the activity was there, because I was trying to sweep the floor. So there's like these NFT aggregators where you can like bulk buy from a
mhm,
collection, to save on gas. And
mhm.
I kept on trying to buy these NFTs, and all the NFTs on the floor just kept on getting bought and kept on getting bought. And I was like, okay, like there's actually something here, because people are eating up this floor price extremely hard right now.
Mhm.
So as soon as I get like the amount that I wanted, the amount of NFTs I wanted, um, I just sat back and watched the data and just tried to see what was going on. When the floor price had doubled from what I had bought it at, because the demand outlasted the supply of the
Mhm.
the NFT at that price. Once it
Mhm.
doubled, I listed one for a price that I'd be happy with. And
Mhm.
then I just sat back and tried to be as patient as I possibly can, and let it play out the way it needed to play out. And sure enough, it hit. And then I sold two of them. One for not the tippity top, was like a reasonable price, and then one at the top, like at the top for floor NFTs. So my approach is, you know, get out what you initially made.
Mhm.
So cover your costs, sell
Right.
one for a price that you're excited for. And then the last one, you don't necessarily, I don't have to sell this last one that I own.
Right.
So I was going into this trade. I liked the art, I liked the message behind it, which is all important to factor in as well. Like those were also key factors, because if the art was trash or the mission that they were trying to accomplish wasn't good, I would have been like, nah, like I'm not gonna fucking do this. I'm not gonna risk the capital to be able to do this. It's too like from a risk management perspective, I'm trying to mitigate the amount of risk I take on because I'm already taking on so much
Right.
into NFTs. So yeah, that was my approach with that trade, and it ended up paying off pretty well.
So explain. I mean, I can kind of get art. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But a lot of the NFTs that I see out there are kind of odd, kind of weird. Not my idea of what art I thought would be, but I
Mhm.
guess that's kind of the way NFTs are heading. I kind of like the cute, fuzzy, and the pretty ones. And everything that's coming out is like skulls and monkeys and apes.
Yeah,
So besides the art, you said the other one was the story or the project behind it, right?
yeah.
So how do you research the project? What do you mean by the story behind it? Because I have no idea what you mean
Mhm.
by that.
Yeah. So I can just go back to the example Kiwami, right?
Mhm.
Let's go to their Twitter. So um something that like I've obviously noticed, and that's why I took the trends to begin with, was that there's a lot of people that really enjoy this anime art style in the NFT space, and NFT art projects or NFT profile picture projects that are centered around anime um, tend to get a lot of
Okay.
buzz, right? And
Uh-huh.
it's not every single project that gets a lot of buzz, but um, it's I don't really know like how to discern like which ones get buzzed, but when you hear about one, then that's probably when it's getting buzzed, because when people are talking about it, that's when, okay, like what is this thing?
Hmm.
Um, so there's been this trend. The second largest collection outside of Bored Ape is an anime profile picture project called Azuki,
Hmm.
and they're valued at 18 ETH or 20 ETH or something like that per NFT to give
Wow.
it to the community. Yeah, so they've had an astronomical amount of success, right? They're right
Hmm.
up they're right up there with these guys at Bored Ape and what they've done. And there's like this thing called cope in the NFT and crypto space. Like people will like they missed Azuki, or and they're just trying to cope with the fact that they missed it. So there'll be like derivative projects that come out. Like this is all human psychology. Like people will be like, "Oh, I missed out on this, but this is better. This art is better than Azuki."
Uh-huh.
And what I noticed is that that was a thing. There was this project called Murray that had come out a couple of weeks ago, and that had generated a lot of buzz. And everybody was like, "Oh, next Azuki, next Azuki, next Azuki," and then that died down. Um,
Uh-huh.
and then this thing Kawami came onto my lap and was like, "This is the next Azuki," and the artists are from Japan. And I started seeing like, okay, people actually care that the people are from Japan. Like
Right.
this is legitimate anime. And sure enough, a lot of people bought into that idea. A lot of people kept on buying their NFTs, and um, I went to their website, kiwami.app, and just looked at like, the homepage and saw some of the artwork, looked at um their sneak peeks and got to see some of the stuff. And then I made sure I read their strategy. Like they have a strategy page here, and read through that, like read through their mission and saw um their idea of wanting to actually build an anime and having connections with media companies and all these other like good things, um
Hmm.
which make it like a stronger longer term
Yeah.
project, right? Because like if this is an actual brand that is built and an actual story is made out of this and turned into an anime, like these could be valuable in the future, especially if people like resonate with the show. um but I'm not really trying to wait for the show to be adapted into
Right.
the story. Like I want to be able
Yeah.
to capitalize on, oh, a lot of people are flooding into this right now, let me
Right.
in and out of this. And that's
Yep, I
exactly,
agree.
yeah, that's exactly what I did. So
So tell me about strategy because that sounds really technical. I don't know what you mean by strategy. What strategies are there involved in NFTs?
yeah, so I mean, there's a bunch of different ones from what I've seen. Another like word that can kind of go hand in hand with strategy is roadmap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, roadmap is kind of like a buzzword these days. Strategy is probably just another way to say, but
Okay.
at the end of the day, strategy is the ability to maneuver and make decisions and ultimately accomplish the goals that you're looking and how you're going to accomplish them. So
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's pretty much what I looked at. Um, obviously I looked at the team. Team is very important as well. You don't necessarily need to know like this individual's whole background because I feel like if you spend I almost gloss over certain aspects of it. Obviously, I
Uh-huh.
want to understand like what I'm investing into and what these guys are actually building, but I'm not getting too caught up in the details. I'm hyper fixated on the psychology of the market on the back end. Like, okay, like are people still
Right.
talking about this? Is the data showing me this?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
how can I capitalize on understanding that data?
I agree. It's
And
kind of like
that's
trading stocks.
exactly. And if you can understand the psychology of human beings and understand that at the end of the day, people are gonna be greedy and greed's gonna run it,
Right.
then you can make maneuvers and make moves.
You just want to be on the right end of that greed.
Exactly. You do. And you want to be early and right, which is a skill, that has to be built. But
Yeah.
if your judgment calls are better than somebody else's, if you're 70% right, if you're 70% right, and somebody else is
Mhm.
30%, you're 70%, you're gonna be walking away with so much more money because you just made four better decisions than they did. You still
Right.
made some bad decisions, sure, but
Yeah.
you know, once you kind of get your knees dirty a little bit, that's when you kind of figure out, okay, like these decisions are, powerful and things. And another thing that I normally don't do, um, when it comes to my personal strategy for trading
Mhm.
is I don't buy pre-reveal. So sometimes these NFTs, well, sometimes most of the time these days, NFTs, you buy them or you mint them, and it takes a couple of days for the NFTs to show you like what you actually got. Um,
Ah,
so it's like there's like this anticipation that builds up into these projects. And if you're seeing normally I don't buy before before reveal because if you get a huge run up pre-reveal, you want to try to sell that pre-reveal
right.
because most of the time the anticipation drops off if the art ends up being
Exactly.
shitty, right?
Like
If
a grab
people show
bag.
it, yeah, exactly. And if people like the best example, it was the worst example for me because I was on the bad end of it.
Uh-huh.
But there was this project called Mechaverse back in October, and it was literally the most hyped project in the space by miles. Nobody was near it. Like 300,000 followers on Instagram, 500 on Twitter. It was ridiculous. Okay.
Hmm.
And they really focused on spreading out the ratio. So everybody that got to mint only got to mint two. So like I was saying, right, that
Mhm.
ratio was too high. There were too many
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
owning these NFTs and wanting to be able to sell them for profit
Yep.
in the beginning.
Yep.
So with all this anticipation, all this demand, they immediately they minted for 0.08 ETH and then literally hit the secondary market at 5 ETH.
Oh, geez.
5 ETH. And I bought at 5 ETH. I was like,
Oh, crap.
I was fresh off of a great sale. And I was like, let's go. Like, this is gonna be a hype project. And I was like, this is gonna be another huge winner, right? I let my greed get ahead of me. And I bought pre-reveal and it ran from 5 ETH to 11 ETH because it took 4 days for it to reveal.
Wow.
And then immediately after it revealed, everybody hated the art and it dropped to 2 ETH in a matter of minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. So, you only learn that either through hearing those stories or experiencing those stories.
We're being the story.
Or being the story, exactly. So
Oh man.
there's certain principles that I kind of try to live by when it comes to buying NFTs. And I did break some of those principles or rules, right? Because I mean, I think rules are meant to be broken at the end of the day.
Hmm.
As long as you kind of understand what you're getting yourself into and understand the data back end to be able to back why you did what you did, you
Yeah.
know? So
Now, question. So if you, I know that you don't advise buying pre-reveal. This is just a question I'm curious about. Since you bought pre-reveal and the price kept going up, are you able to sell between the time that it was pre-reveal to the reveal?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So
I
you
don't,
could have sold
yeah,
before, but you didn't. You held on
yeah. And it
and
was,
then it
I
dropped.
kept on seeing, I was really debating on whether or not I should do it. Because okay, there was a number of things that played into this, right? This specific project had at the time, like the day before, okay, so today's the 30th, right? Today was the reveal of these NFTs.
Mhm.
On the 29th, or on the 28th, these NFTs had 8,500 NFTs on the market, right?
Uh-huh.
But on the 29th, there was like an OG project that had supported these guys from the beginning and helped them get off the ground and all this. So they were giving them this community, like of 1,500 people, one free mint. And everybody in the Discord, so like it was going to go from 8,500 to 10,000.
Oh,
And on the day before the reveal, and everybody was like, oh, like they're going to dump, they're going to dump, they're going to dump. And they didn't. And then I saw that and I was like, yo, these guys are not selling their NFTs. They're actually buying them. I'm gonna hold these and see what happens post reveal, because that was like another like on the moment in the moment type of oh shit, like this could actually be like interesting to
yeah.
see through. So I saw it through, and sure enough, I was right. I took the gamble and I was right. I could have easily been wrong,
Right.
um, but I made out way more than what I had put in. So
Nice.
at the end of the day, like it was a little stressful, but I almost it was just like kind of like an emotional control, because I had seen this data and I had enough knowledge previously to be able to make that split time decision and say, okay, like this
Yeah.
could be something different, you know.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours go into it. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking at anything else for the last 4 days except for this and the data.
Oh, bad.
So like I knew this data and I saw these numbers and I was just like, okay. And I got to a point where I was like, I need to just close my laptop and close my phone, because all I'm thinking about is this freaking trade right now. So uh
Right.
yeah. So
Mm.
that was a little bit more high strung, but um nonetheless, it was still a really good trade, and these type of things happen and
I
can
love
happen.
it. I love the fact that you shared your your losses and also your wins, because I think what's going to teach everybody is the losses, unfortunately.
Yeah,
We
you
all
know
have to
the,
make mistakes.
the amount of losses that I've had in the NFT space in particular, because I was right on a lot of crypto coins, like a lot, and I got a little cocky and my ego got in the way and greed got in the way.
Yep.
um and I lost a fuck ton of money, more money than I've ever seen in my life,
Oh no.
ever. And it was just like I more money than anybody in my family has seen in their life. So
Wow.
it was like that was
You
like
lost that much?
I so I didn't necessarily lose it, right? Like it was I had a really big sale. I could have sold all of my NFTs back in October, which looking back I should have probably done.
Mm,
Um and walked away with an enormous bag. like an unbelievable amount of money.
You could have retired.
I really could have retired. Like I could have quit my
Jeez.
job and lived on the beach, but like I wouldn't have done that. But um,
Right.
I could have. And
Wow.
there was, I only sold one. So I was already euphoric about that one because it was just a price that I was like, yo, like this is crazy. I can't believe this just happened. And then the Mechaverse thing happened. And I
Uh,
lost and I lost obviously 5 ETH pretty much. And then right after that, um, I had bought all these other projects at the tippity top of their price.
oh no.
Um, and yeah, they're not there at their tip top price anymore. I don't necessarily count it as a loss, but like I overpaid for access,
Right.
which is still like
Still
a
hurts.
loss in my eyes. I can't get back that money that I had. And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
there were three other losses that I had took. October, November, and December were months,
Yeah.
rough months because I just took loss after loss after loss, and it was really gut wrenching. And I had to pull myself out and understand that like I had to just keep going. Like there was no way I wasn't gonna like stop. I love what I do. I love this so much. You can kind of hear it when I talk about it, but um,
And
yeah,
it's kind of it kind of ruins you temporarily psychologically too,
for
because then
sure.
you're starting to second guess yourself. It's like, okay, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, and then it's even worse. And then it's even worse when people close to you understand what you had gone through, and then they start second guessing you, and you're just like, now you're beating
Yeah.
yourself up double, and then you feel like ashamed of what you've done, and you're like, oh, regretful and all this other shit. But that's just kind of the game you kind of come to play in when you do this. I at least that's how I look at it. Um, it's like investing is not a always up to the right type of thing. You have to be able to stomach these large, especially with volatile markets.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to stomach these large swings. Now, eventually, well, now what I'm gonna do is I know how I'm gonna fucking approach it this time around. Um, I'm gonna take half of what I own and put it into something boring, like take it and put it into something boring that I know will produce results over the long run. That I don't
Like
necessarily
what?
want to look at S&P 500, some boring stocks like semiconductors or some
Okay.
ETFs, something that's less risky that
Right.
can keep me sane at night. That I'm not
Right.
stomaching an
Good
80% drop
idea.
on Bitcoin. Uh,
Yep.
or even Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like
Right.
those are pretty boring because like there's a whole market with NFTs that you can just go absolutely apeshit in.
Yep.
So yeah, there's good and bad things that you learn when it comes to these swings, but yeah.
Great stuff. So before we conclude for the night, I want you to kind of give people an idea. Why should people consider investing in NFTs versus stocks,
Yeah.
or at least diversify? Why?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've said this before. I think that NFTs, from the risk perspective and the risk spectrum, it's the furthest right that you can get, right? Like you're betting on brands becoming the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hello Kitties of the world, before they even have like a working product. So um if I'm actually being completely honest, I don't necessarily advise people to get into NFTs unless they actually understand crypto. If you don't understand like the Bitcoins, the Ethereums, the chain links, the Lunas, and actually what's going on in the market, then you really probably shouldn't, like your first investment should not be an NFT because they are illiquid.
Right.
And if you're not making the right decisions and you haven't really, done your homework on things, then it's really easy for you to lose money and get discouraged and never want to invest again. Which is not the
Okay.
goal, right? The goal is to get people to be financially free and be able to feel empowered because they made the right decisions, and retire comfortably. Um, so when it comes to NFTs, you just have to understand what your risk perspective is and what you're actually getting yourself into. Now, it's high risk, but that also comes with high reward, right?
Right.
This NFT project that I made today, or that I traded today, I made a 5x on a 500% gain in 4 days.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way you're finding that anywhere in the stock market unless you're
Nope.
investing in the penny stocks, which, if you ask me, is more risky than NFTs 9 times
I
out of
agree.
10.
I agree.
And there's just no better returns in the market than NFTs, but crypto in general, right? Like cryptocurrency, I think for the next 10 years are going to be where all the returns are going on. If you're looking for stability and long-term growth, stocks is where you want to stay. Obviously, they're
Right.
down right now because of like world events, but that's just my perspective and how I kind of look at it right now. Um, I'm at this stage where I can take on a lot of risk and I want high risk, high reward type situations, but I know eventually I'll want to move my money to stocks and feel
Right.
comfortable with that. And that time will probably come sooner rather than later. But nonetheless, like I said, you just have to assess what you're willing to risk and what you're willing to make in order to accomplish your goals.
Good point. Like me, I'm more into stocks right now, and I have probably 10% in crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's a good mix. I
Right.
might put more just to kind of push the limit a little bit because I'm more of a risk taker.
Mm-hmm.
But I still gotta retire sooner or later.
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's always about where you are with your situation, because it's hyper personal, right? Like
Yep.
finances are such a individual basis, and that's kind of why, like, that first conversation I asked you, like, what your goals are, is being really clear. Because back in October, if I had clear set goals for myself of where I actually wanted to like end and exit, quote unquote,
Right.
I
Right.
would have been so golden. Like, I would have not been stressed. I wouldn't have to go
Yep.
through anything. I'm glad I went through what I went through, because now I'm going in it. I have these clear cut goals. I have these numbers in my head where I'm like, if I hit this amount of
Yeah.
ETH
Get
liquid,
out
I'm not
and be
I'm not
happy.
dabbling. I'll buy the expensive stuff and
Uh-huh.
like preserve it, but
Uh-huh.
like there's absolutely no reason for me to be just gambling the way I've been gambling to be able to get to that point. Um,
Right.
so that's the ultimate game changer for me. It's like getting really clear on what I'm willing to risk, what I'm willing to gain, and my goals.
Right.
So, and everybody's are different.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of like trading stocks. You got to cut your losses, put in a stop loss, and then once you get to a certain point, you either, sell half of what you have and let the rest run, or sell it all, but always have a stop loss.
Yeah.
I've learned to have a stop loss in place. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for shedding some light on some great tools, and appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. As always. Looking forward to the next conversation next week.
Yep, sounds good.
All right.
Thanks and have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
All right.